If you ever thought your inheritance was looking a bit bleak because your parents decided to spend your house deposit on a luxury cruise around the Mediterranean, spare a thought for Andrew Mombay in Windsor. It is March 2026, and the man formerly known as the Duke of York is currently watching his entire financial and social legacy being fed into a high powered industrial shredder. Not only has he spent his 66th birthday in an 11-hour interrogation session with the Thames Valley Police, but he has also just been hit with the news that the Royal Lodge lease has been terminated. This means his daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, have officially lost their inheritance claim to the 30-room estate. We're talking about a total collapse of the York dynasty's assets, a succession shakeup that could see him erased from the history book, and a mental health spiral that has left the former prince in a state of absolute despair. It is the end of the inherited life and the beginning of a very cold, very lonely reality in Norfolk. Quick favor, if you are loving this, hit that subscribe button. Over 92% of viewers haven't yet. It is free, takes a second, and means the absolute world to us. Thank you if you just did. Now, back to the show. To understand why Andrew's mental health is reportedly in freefall, you have to look at the numbers. For 23 years, Andrew has clung to Royal Lodge like a barnacle to a sheep, believing that his 75-year lease was an ironclad guarantee of his family's future. But in early 2026, property expert confirmed that the lease has been terminated. Because the lease has been surrendered, it simply ceased to exist as an asset. This is a massive financial blow. Experts estimate that by losing the right to pass this lease on to Beatrice and Eugenie, Andrew has effectively stripped his daughters of an inheritance value in the millions. There is nothing to pass on. Imagine spending 20 years pouring your own money into and upgrading your house, only to be told that your children will never see a penny of that investment. For a man who has always defined himself by his status and his ability to provide for his inner cycle, this is a crushing humiliation. He's not just losing the roof over his head, he's losing the only tangible thing he had left to give his children. But wait, it even gets more dramatic. While Andre is mourning his real estate, the British government and leading royal experts have come in for his place in line of succession. It is March 2026, and the call for a Total Succession Reform Act are reaching a fever pitch. Royal expert Ginny Bond has publicly stated that Andrew should be removed from the line of succession because, if you are not fit to be a prince, you're certainly not fit to be a king. The logic is simple. The line of succession is not just a family tree, it is a list of potential heads of state. In the wake of his arrest on suspicion of misconduct in public office, specifically relating to allegations that he shared confidential trade reports with Jeffrey Epstein, the idea of Andrew ever holding a Councillor of State role is being laughed out of Parliament. But Bond goes further, suggesting a complete shakeup that would also remove Prince Harry and his children, as well as Beatrice and Eugenie. The proposed new order, William, his children, and then a massive bomb-up for Princess Anne and Prince Edward. Andrew is watching his entire lineage being stripped from the official records of the monarchy. A man who values titular dignity above all else, being told you are ridiculous and unfit is the ultimate psychological trigger for a spiral. Physical evidence of this spiral was captured in those howling photographs following his release from Aylsham Police Station. On February 19, 2026, the world saw a distressed-looking former prince hunched in the back of a car. His face a mask of exhaustion and shock. 11 hours of questioning about your legendary association with a convicted sex offender will do that to a man. Reports from within the Sandringham estate suggest that Andrew is inconsolable. He's currently staying at Wood Farm, a modest farmhouse compared to the 30-room grandeur of Royal Lodge, waiting for the police to decide if he will face formal charges. The analogy here is a man who has lived his entire life in a high-altitude balloon surrounded by yes men and luxury, only for the balloon to be popped by a police officer with a search warrant. The sudden descent to private citizen status, combined with the loss of his inheritance and the threat of a life sentence for misconduct in public office, has created a perfect storm for a mental health crisis. who's reportedly fearing the worst, convinced that he will be the first senior royal, saves Charles first to face a serious legal reckoning. If Andrew thought he could find refuge in the Commonwealth, he was sadly mistaken. In late February 2026, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese wrote to the UK government, expressing full support for removing Andrew from the line of succession. New Zealand followed suit shortly after. This is not just a British tabloid problem anymore, it's the global constitutional realignment. The succession shakeup is gaining momentum because the world has changed. Taxpayers in 2026 are not willing to fund the security and trappings of a man who is under investigation for betraying public trust. For Andrew, hearing that countries on the other side of the planet are actively voting to erase him from their future is a level of rejection that is hard to process. He is being ghosted by the entire nation. The succession order has become a cormorant-style list where the deadwood is being aggressively pruned, and Andrew is the biggest branch on the ground. While the public and the Commonwealth demand the Andrew total removal, King Charles III is reportedly in a crucial dilemma. On one hand, he has pledged wholehearted support to the police investigation. On the other hand, sources suggest he is in deep reluctance to meddle with the line of succession because it would open a can of worms. If Charles removes Andrew, he might feel forced to remove Harry or Beatrice or Eugenie. The king has a soft corner for his nieces and does not want to punish them for their father's disgraceful associations. But the pressure from the government is immense. The Regency Act 2026 is already being drafted by constitutional lawyers. Andrew is sitting in Norfolk, watching his brother decide whether to protect him one last time or finally prune him for the sake of the monarchy's survival. It is a suspenseful weight that is only adding to his spiraling mental state. He's no longer a prince, no longer a duke, and very soon he might no longer even be in line. He's just a man named Andrew, facing a very uncertain future with empty pockets and a heavy heart. Thank you for watching.